Hello all, another Secret Invasion video. This is episode 5. It feels like you're missing half of the story. It's full of contrivances, a massive MacGuffin, and it's just dumb. Just plain dumb. It jumps about a bit as well, and it's a short episode, but it was ultimately pretty hollow, and there was a moment they were trying to tug on your heartstrings and I literally felt nothing. And as with the previous episode, a terribly done cliffhanger. I think it was episode 3 where I said they should have ended it at a certain point. They do exactly the same thing again. So getting on to spoilers. The president's being wheeled into a hospital with Fury shouting in his ear to not trust Rhodey, that the Skrulls are on their side. He isn't allowed in with the president, so he grabs a chair, sticks it outside the door and sits on it with a gun. We now go to the Skrull base where Gravik is walking in. There's no cheers this time, and everyone looks a little bit sullen and a little bit shifty. He tells one of the Skrulls with him to go and get the generals. They all gather, and there's a confrontation really between him and his number 2. It turns out his number 2 is supposed to have been trying to find something. It might have been mentioned before, I don't remember. And his number 2 has a go at him about the fact that he's had multiple opportunities to kill Fury. He gave the kill command that Priscilla should kill him, knowing that Priscilla wouldn't, and he could have done it himself. And then Gravik says that they need Fury alive to find the thing that he's hidden. But then why did you give the command for Priscilla to kill him? Sure, you could have thought maybe she wouldn't, but she might have done. And if you need him to find the thing that you need, then why even risk that? Done within the first 2 minutes. Number 2 starts challenging his authority, and he kills him instantly. Gravik then tells the remaining generals to go and kill Priscilla. I forgot to mention, when they're walking in, he tells them to get the generals. The guy who was in the first episode turning up is kind of standing in the background looking confused and concerned. And at the end of this scene, he's also standing there looking confused and concerned, thereby completely telegraphing what's about to happen. The thing he's looking for is Avengers DNA, and I'll get onto a full explanation of that later, because obviously he wants to get their DNA to be a Super Skrull. Gravik rings Rhodey after they've all gone. He tells him to tell the president about the Skrulls, where they are, and that they're working with Russians, because all this is really believable. And obviously the president will never check this. Rhodey arrives at the hospital, Fury jumps him, sticks a gun on him, and there's a bit of to and fro, very briefly, and Rhodey tells him he's arranged to release the video of him, as in Gravik, shooting Maria Hill. Fury hits him, starts walking off. A load of security men turn up pointing guns at Fury, and he goes. I just don't get why they think anyone would believe that Fury would kill Maria Hill. It makes no sense in what anyone knows about Fury. You know, he's been in a position of high trust for decades. So why would he kill this woman who's so important to him? Especially given that everybody knows about Skrulls. And if they didn't, they do after this episode. So why would they believe it was Fury? And this happens a lot. There's a lot of situations that rely on people believing a certain way that doesn't necessarily make any sense. Next scene is Olivia Colman walking into her boss's office. Now, we saw a picture of the boss on the cover of one of her files, and it turns out he's a Skrull. So she shoots him in the leg. No setup, don't know who this dude is. Apparently he's her boss. Where was the context for this? As usual, nowhere to be seen. But he's a good actor, and it's just a waste of a good actor. The scene has a point that she's asking where the scientist is. How she knows about the scientist, I'm not sure. Did the bloke he was torturing tell her? I don't know, I can't remember. But she knows the scientist's name, just doesn't know where she is. So back to the Skrull compound. The new boy goes up to Gravik. Gravik rings Rhodey again and finds out the president's okay, and then they all attack him. There's a fight scene, and obviously Gravik kicks all their asses and kills them. He knocks new boy out into the main concourse, charges out, and basically does a whole come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, and then he kills the new boy. And once again, everybody is in human form. This is the place where they can be themselves, because this is what they're banging on about, being their true selves, having their true faces. But none of them, in this scene particularly, I know there have been odd ones dotted out before, none of them are in their true face. They're in this haven, and none of them are being their true self. So what are you fighting for if you don't care that much that when you have the opportunity, you don't do it? Now, I know why they're not doing it. It's because of the budget and because they don't want to do all these people in makeup. But it makes a mockery of the whole point of the bad guy's mission and their mission. So Fury, now on the run after the video's been released, goes to the place where he and Talos back in the day recruited some of the Skrulls to help them. And this place means something to him because, in this story anyway, it's got a connection to the Windrush generation. For anyone who doesn't know who they are, after the Second World War, Britain was in a hell of a state and invited a lot of immigrants from Commonwealth countries to come to the UK and help rebuild. So there's a link there between the Skrulls being immigrants and the Windrush generation. Problem is it's a little clunky. It works in a way as an analogy, but yeah, it's a little clunky. Guy is there waiting for him. There's some back and forth between them. They're talking about Guy's father. She's kind of angry at him for dying and wasting his life for nothing. And she says she needs to bury him. And then sirens start and Fury has to leave and says he's going to Finland. Now there's a brief scene after this, a little bit further in the episode, where Gaia is sitting in the back of the van with Talos's body. How did that happen? How did Fury get Talos's body to give it to Gaia? Fury left Talos in the road when he was saving the president. And then he's been at the hospital standing guard. And then he's been on the run. So at what point did he get Talos's body? Or did anyone, for some reason, I don't know why they might, if they believe that alien was part of an attack on the president, why they'd take it and give it to Fury. But somehow, some way, he's got Talos's body and he's given it to Gaia. And he never tells her where the van is. He never tells her where the body is. But she magically knows where this body he magically has is. Now there's a few interspersed scenes here, so I'll just concentrate on them one at a time. It would just be easier for the flow. Guy goes to Fury's house and she just sort of gently nudges the door and kind of breaks it open with very little effort. That's very relevant. She then finds Priscilla and they end up pointing guns at each other because Priscilla thinks she's come to kill her. And it's quite clear that Priscilla has never held a gun before in her life. At least Emilia Clarke looks like she knows what she's doing. The other one doesn't. Basically, she's gone there because Fury told her that his wife could tell him how to bury her father. When that happened, again, not sure. Must have missed it since we've seen pretty much all the conversations. But hey, maybe he left her a note saying, go and see my wife. This is my address. We have the funeral, which is a completely flat, emotionless thing. I don't know why I should care about this. Ben Mendelsohn's a great actor, but the character was a nothing. After the funeral, there's a bit of a heart-to-heart between them, and they talk about how they left things with her father and how she left things with Fury. And she talks about her relationship with Fury a little bit, and that she loves the house, which is why she's staying instead of running away when her execution's been ordered and she's been told to stay. I mean, what? One, how does Gaia know that she's been told to stay waiting her execution? Because that's happened when Gaia's away from the organisation. Why would they contact her and tell her to wait for your execution? When did that happen? Just more nonsense. You don't need that. All you needed was the speech that she gave that she loved the house, and if she was going to face her executioners, it should be there rather than down a dark alley. That makes sense. That's a character moment. You don't need the rest of the stuff. You don't need you're ordered to stay. No. And how would they even know where she is? And I'm getting on to the point here. She says that the reason Fury stayed in this house is because it's secluded, secure, key word there, and has a lot of light. He told Gaia where the house was, and she pushed the door in seconds. No effort. Where's the security? They're attacked now by the stormtroopers of the Skrull world because their aim is about as good. How did they know where she was? Where's the security? Literally, Priscilla just opens a drawer and there's some guns and backpacks. I don't get the backpacks at all. And they kind of have a firefight. Where's the traps? Where's the safe room? Where's the panic room? Where's the laser grids? Where's the security? There's nothing. It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. Anyway, they fight them off. And then there's a final scene between them a bit later on where they're in London and Guy gets out of the car and Priscilla wishes her luck and tells her to be careful. Kind of a meaningless scene. Maybe some context put on it later, but it feels like it's not a scene you really needed. A quick thing about this thing with Gaia and Priscilla. Now, obviously, there's loads of question marks about how she was told, when she was told, why Fury would send her knowing there's supposed to be a kill squad, how he would even know that Priscilla was going to be there still. But it did make me wonder if Fury sent her there knowing that Priscilla would still be there, and that Gaia would then be backup should an attack happen, which he knew was coming. I mean, Fury of old, I could absolutely believe that. But this old man Fury who seems to be constantly playing catch-up, it doesn't really feel coherent to the story. It's possible they didn't lay the groundwork, and it might well be that there'll be a comment about it later. So there may be method to that moment, but I guess we'll find out next week. One of the scenes interspersed with this whole section is a scene between Rhodey and the President, where Rhodey tells him where the Skrulls are, that they're working with the Russians and that they are a danger, and that Olivia Colman's character has verified the location as she's now head of the SIS after shooting her Skrull boss in the leg. Why? I don't know. How she knew? I don't know. Many of these things that she seems to know that I don't know how she knows, but she's way better than Fury because she's a step ahead all the time. There's a scene where Olivia Colman's character is found by the scientist and her husband, both Skrulls obviously, looking through her notes. They're both captured, they torch the lab. The husband grabs the wife and says he won't let her spill the secrets. Olivia Colman's character makes another sexist comment like she has throughout the series and shoots him in the head. One of the other scenes is Fury talking to Gravik. Fury's in a chauffeur-driven car. Where that's come from, I don't know. You could headcanon it to be Olivia Colman's character supplying this stuff, since she ends up meeting him where he's going. Or, given that he then walks into a private jet, it could be the nobody guy from Black Widow, who I think it's him who turns up. Honestly, he was forgettable in that film, sadly for him, but I think it's him. But then weirdly, Fury comes through customs in the airport in Finland, but he's got a private jet that he's taking off from a private airfield, so why doesn't he just land somewhere private in his private jet? See what I mean? Dumbness, weirdness, all the way through. Anyway, Fury and Gravik have the conversation. Gravik tells him the plan that he's going to blow the Skrull base up unless he supplies the Avengers' DNA. Bearing in mind, Fury's going to Finland. He'd already said he was going to Finland. That's where the DNA is. Does Fury magically know that that's what Gravik's after? Who knows? See, the thing is, you can have a super spy who knows everything, who figures everything out, but you've got to give some sense that that's what he's doing. You've got to give some sense that he's ahead of the game and that he's playing everybody for fools by being the bumbling old man, by kind of being behind the eight ball. But you never get a sense of that. It all feels like he's playing catch up. It just feels like he's being knocked from one event to another with no plan, with no coherent course. He's just reacting. You could argue that as soon as he found out about the Super Skrull thing, I'm not sure when he found that out, he could have realised that's what Gravik was after, because Gravik was one of those who gathered the DNA. That's how he knows about it. But that's what I mean about there being holes in it that don't connect the dots. And you don't always need dots connecting, but when there are so many missing, there's just a lack of connectivity there. So anyway, as I say, Fury arrives in Finland, goes through customs, using a widow's cloak to disguise himself, gets in the car with the Olivia Colman. I think her name's Farnsworth. I think she's supposed to be in some way, shape or form related to Union Jack, a British superhero character from the comics. They have some back and forth in the car on the drive. He asks her why she confirmed the location and tells her that Rhodey's a Skrull, which she didn't know. Fury explains about the Avengers' DNA, and Coleman says, so it's all your fault. They arrive at the location of the DNA, and it's Fury's grave, because Fury's got these graves everywhere. And Fury monologues about all he's got is his smarts, given to him by a single mother, and the love of another woman who's far better than he is. And in the conversation, he reveals that his wife is a Skrull, much to Olivia Colman's surprise and possible understanding now. He gets the DNA. Clearly he's got some sort of plan. He then goes into a crypt, gets his coat, gets his eye patch, calls somebody and says, let's finish this. And then the last shot is him walking out of the crypt. And this, like a previous episode, this is not where you should have finished it. You should have finished it with him saying, it's time, let's finish this. The scene of him walking out with rising dramatic music, he's literally just walking. It's a weird directorial choice that kind of undercuts the drama, actually. Avengers DNA MacGuffin, where's that come from? I could understand and I could believe that Fury would do that, but where's it come from in this story? It seems to have come out of thin air. How is it everybody knows what Skrulls are? Fury, I thought, kept them all secret, and Rhodey says, oh, we found out ages ago. But how do they know what they are? How do they know what they're called? How does everybody know what they are? You know, we've gone from a situation of, oh, these Skrulls are infiltrating, they're so secret. And next thing you know, everybody knows that the Skrulls exist. They always have. Which begs the question, why did nobody ever create something that could detect them? You know, Fury, the master planner, supposedly. Although we found in this series that he's always been pretty useless and average. Wouldn't he be planning for the possibility they'd turn on him? Creatures that could hide in plain sight? Wouldn't the first thing Fury the super spy do is find a way to easily detect them? I mean, he was creating weapons used against the Avengers in case he needed to. He created a cage for the Hulk in case he needed to try and kill him. But these Skrulls have been here since the 90s and he's never thought, you know what, probably should find a way of making sure I can detect these people. It's just stupid. Everything about this show is stupid. And it gets me animated, not because the show itself is interesting, but because everything about it is so dumb. Gravix is going to blow up his own people to start a war, because he knows by threatening to do that, he'll be able to blackmail Fury, because Fury will care about the Skrulls that live there, and he'll care about the humans who are prisoners. But those Skrulls are on his side. The ones in the rest of the world, are they? Won't they just die with everybody else? Yes, they're immune to radiation by comparison to humans, but they're not immune to bloody great explosions and firestorms that follow. Dumb. Everything about this show is contrived, boring, and dumb. Anyway, I'm depressing myself. We've got the final episode next week. I shall see how that goes. It might well tie some of the things up I've mentioned in this video. It might ignore them completely, like everything else has this entire series, with all their missing moments. Can't say I'm particularly looking forward to it. I guess I'm a bit curious as to whether this turd will be flushed or not. So, I'll leave it there. As usual, I'd be interested to hear your comments. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And thank you very much for listening. Peace out.